The current health crisis is tearing all the major economies around the world, and major central banks are coming together to think about pushing their limits. Now, keep in mind that as this is happening at a time where the corporate giants are already feeling the pain, so how will they actually respond to this? You actually have to go through this video. You will get an idea, because previously we were actually thinking about the IMF's SDR will be an easy solution, but here is the problem.
A large amount, perhaps 1 trillion SDRs. But here's the problem. When you issue SDRs, they have to be handed out to all the members of the IMF according to their voting rights and their capital accounts. It's sort of a, you can't give more to one country than another just because they need it more, you like them better. It has to be according to the rules. Well, that means a lot of this would go to Iran and China, and the
Venezuela.
Venezuela. And the U.S. is opposed to that for geopolitical reasons. So, right, and the U.S. has veto power. You need an 85% vote in the IMF to make something like that happen. Guess what? The U.S. has 16% of the votes, which means if every other country in the world.
So the chances that it is going to happen with SDR is looking bleak. So what are the other options overlooked by the IMF itself, which will be okay for the corporate America?
But we also see the potential that they have for making the global financial system more efficient and more inclusive than is currently the case. So the challenge is then to design regulatory frameworks that allow innovation to happen, to allow these use cases to go ahead, all appropriately mitigating the risks.
Now, the potential is understood, and how it will release money for enterprises, corporations, and all. Yes, it will also releases the dormant amount from the Vostro amount of banks, but how does it actually release money for businesses? That will actually play an important role in the coming weeks and months. If you see value in the video, please do hit the like, subscribe, and the bell notification icon to get notified about the future videos. Welcome to the Scientific Investor channel, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly.
Essentially not happening today by lowering the transaction cost. The second thing, if you look at enterprise, a lot of money is stuck in working capital. So for example, if you are a supplier which is supplying goods on a 30-day contract terms and you're getting paid in 33 days, but now after a Ripple is put into the bank that you are essentially using, you get paid exactly on the 30th day. That means you have the 3 days of extra working capital, which is 10% of your working capital. And if you look at on a yearly basis, that is 36 days of working capital that is available to you for extra use. So that's a cost that is not incurred by you as a business, or that is an opportunity that is available to you to get an extra customer. So
now, why is this interesting? Because as Ripple is moving ahead, joining forces with the corporates, and they are understanding how they can unleash the dormant funds, they actually will be seeing the potential. Now in this one, it again highlights any units of value will move through this. So the basic thing here you have to understand is, like, any unit of value will be existing on a ledger, which will have to be moved to a different customer or a different entity in a different ledger. So the value exchange is presented there, and you have to transfer it from one ledger to another using interledger protocol. That's the value exchange, and using ILP this will be so easy because it is possible through XRP. And when banks and financial institutions are actually using this, and they are actually responding like this, you can actually see here, if you actually go through, this is one of the financial institution, this is another one. They are a regulated institution, and when they are coming out like this, think what will happen if the corporates are coming out and letting others know that this is possible. Then the liquidity brought into the network will make XRP the most liquid digital asset. Thus, it will again increase the use cases for all different liquidity needs. Now there is a question, like, recent news is coming out and hitting like this. So how can it actually impact, say, if North Korea is actually holding this much in BTC and some in other currencies? Then there is an issue. Say, for example, we don't know whether they are going to sell off or they're going to hold for long. But keep an eye what is happening currently. Yes, it is a dictator country. We don't get proper news coming out from there, so we don't know what's actually happening there. But previously they actually got these funds through cyber hacks, so it's possible that they may actually continue to do so, or even create a chaos using just what they have. So the chances are still there for that. Now looking at the charts, what you can see is we were actually moving through this trend, we were actually following this trend, right? And as we can see now, it has just broken above. Now it has kind of confirmed the movement to the upside. After the breakout, it came back, retested that area once. I'll zoom in so it's clear for almost all the viewers. Say then again it bounced above, reached the same resistance line and came back, and now it's bouncing above, and it is going about this particular resistance line, which is around 0.196. Now keep this in mind, this pattern here has a target about 10-11%, which take you around 0.2156. So the target in a shorter time frame here is 11%. Now yes, some other currencies like XLM has already shot up more than that, so the possibility still lies there. Now when we actually move into a 12-hour or daily chart, I'm actually looking at this in perspective like this. Some of my viewers actually asked me which chart you're using, because for them in their charts they are actually looking at something which is already breached this particular 1 year long trend line resistance. Now I'm using a log chart. Now this is 12-hour chart. If you go to a daily chart or so, it will be same here, you'll get the same response. So what I'm looking here is, you can see that this particular area or this trend line has been relevant from a long time. It was acting as a resistance previously, and immediately it started acting as a resistance once it was breached. So as of now, we haven't breached it. Now this is how I draw that, and for me it looks like kind of there is a potential there that the price is going to breach it this time, because it is getting closer and closer. It's not getting rejected. Instead, in the shorter time frame, as we saw, it's getting a upside break. Now if we put in some indicators and go closer to see what's happening with the momentum and other indicators, see, we can see that the RSI is around 61.8, which is more than a bullish sign, because it is actually moving to the upside. And at the same time, on a 12-hour chart, yes, we crossed to the downside previously. We were remaining in the downside after bouncing here, but before going into a negative territory, it actually kind of got that rounded bottom, crossed to the upside, and it is still upside. So what you have to recognize is the volume is staying in the positive area. So if we get a breakout here, that can be popped out like a huge one. Now when we shift our attention towards the altcoin market cap on a 12-hour chart, it also signals that something has changed, because we have already breached this high when we made a new high here, and now slowly we actually moved above that. So if you draw a horizontal line, you can see that previously we breached that, came back below and went above. So now we are actually above both of those resistance lines. Thus it makes a case of a bullish change. If you guys remember, we were actually following the BTC dominance, and it's still following that resistance and moving to the downside. It hasn't actually changed. So my view regarding the altcoin season coming up, or the next run up in crypto leading by the alts, still remains. I personally believe that it's gonna happen in that way, because still, as you can see, these levels are valid and Bitcoin dominance may fall down. Now yes, this is kind of a shorter approach. If you actually move through on a longer time frame, you can actually still see the same trend going up. Coming back to XRP on a daily, this is a bit zoomed in view to show you that how the volume levels are also responding, because you can see that the volume was rising here, but then again here, but then it fell again, it rose here. The difference being there, the price was going to the downside and we got this high volume. And now in a daily, we are actually above this, and as we highlighted in the previous video, we were going to cross to the downside here. Again, we were going to cross to the downside here, but at that time the RSI was also moving to the downside. Now if you actually look at the RSI, it's kind of showing you a double bottom here, You can see that, right? At the 46 point for the RSI, and the MACD is bouncing to the upside on a positive territory. Now that is something to be kept in mind. So on a daily too, if we are going to get a breakout here, 10, 15, 20% of a bounce in a single day won't actually surprise me. If you see value in the video, please do hit the like, subscribe, and the bell notification icon to get notified about the future videos. Help the channel grow, reach out to more of our community members.